Okay. So yesterday, we celebrated our third annual World Peace Day on the Woodstock Square. Yeah, big round of applause for sure. Many of you were there volunteering, performing, speaking, and celebrating. I think it was such a success, and everyone's hard work really paid off so beautifully. I know so much hard work has gone into this for a really long time from so many of you, and it was just a beautiful day from top to bottom. Everywhere you looked, it was beautiful. So really, thank you to everyone that was involved in World Peace Day. I can't wait to see what we pull out next year. That was a beautiful service. And throughout the day, there was much discussion about peace, right? It's World Peace Day. And it's many different interpretations of what peace is to each of us. I know Kim was walking around taking videos, asking people like what they envision for peace or world peace. Today, I'd like to discuss a little something that touches really all of us very deeply. And that's like really the importance of keeping peace in our own lives. And the spiritual wisdom in walking away from chaotic people and circumstances that we all have at varying times in our lives. You know, we live in a world that kind of thrives on noise and drama and urgency, right? Like that's just kind of the norm a lot of times. And it can feel like peace is something super rare or hard to achieve or hard to hold on to. At least for me, sometimes peace kind of feels like, oh, it's slipping out of my fingers. I just want to hold on to it. Yet spiritually, peace is not really a luxury. To anybody that follows a spiritual path of any kind, you realize it's really, it's something that's a necessity. Peace is an ultimate necessity. It's the place where our soul can grow, and when we can deepen ourselves, our belief in ourselves and beliefs about the world around us and who we are. We can deepen our prayers and our belief and our faith. And ultimately, it's a place then when we can hear the voice of Spirit guiding us throughout every step of our day. Peace is really, really important to that. And peace is more than just, the absence of conflict. It's a divine state of being, really. It's the essence of the alignment with God. And whatever you believe God is, it's aligning with that, with the source, and then the higher consciousness that's within every single one of us. I mean, really, if you think about, sacred texts in the Bible and many different texts throughout time, they speak of peace very clearly. In the Bible, it says, peace I leave with you, may peace I give you. That's John 14:27, and that language is pretty clear. It's like peace is a gift. It's a gift from God, a gift from the divine that we are all given. And the closer the relationship that we have with God as we know it, the more assured that peace, that's the peace you will have. The more you deepen that relationship, the more peace comes into your life. But it is also a choice. You'd think that everyone would just want to be at peace, but it's not always that simple. So when you are at peace, you become like a vessel for higher wisdom, right? In your calmest states, that's when maybe you get little downloads or something just popped in there that I needed. Something came into my life that I needed. Peace kind of brings that in a lot more easily. It's a clearer open space and an open channel. It's an easier place to discern truth, to be able to make clearer decisions in your life and not feel held up on things and not trust your own judgment. You can maybe love more easily, more purely, the people, places, and things around you. But without peace, I find that we as humans, we get a little bit more restless, reactive maybe. We can easily get pulled off our spiritual path or find ourselves being more defensive in life when we're not at peace in ourselves, right? Now let's talk about something else. Chaos. It often comes through people or circumstances that pull us away from our center, our kind of good spot. Sometimes chaotic people may thrive on drama and negativity or constant conflict in some way in their life. I know we've all had our moments, and we see it in people, places, and things around us as well. Chaotic circumstances can manifest in many ways. They can be constant crises in our lives, addictions, unhealthy relationships, even, environments that are just constantly demanding more of us than we can really give. And from a spiritual standpoint, chaos is not just an inconvenience, it's really like an energy drainer, right? It's like a big old energy vampire sucking us dry. But it's somewhat of a choice that we're offering that up if we're choosing chaos over our own peace and walking away from that chaos. It ultimately distracts us from the voice of spirit that's constantly talking to us, but sometimes it's a little fuzzy and it's a little harder to hear if we're a little bogged down in our minds and our hearts and our souls by like the everyday things that happen in life. It can pull us into fear, it can pull us into anxiety, self-defense, all of those things that ultimately kind of get in the way of the alignment that we want for ourselves. Because ultimately, when we're living in chaos and not trying to live in our peace, we can't really step into the calling that God has for us, whatever it is that may be. And I think one of the greatest acts of spiritual maturity is recognizing that, not every battle is ours to fight. And I know we've talked about this in the past. It's kind of like choosing your battles, choosing what you need to step in for and what you need to just lovingly leave, because it's not really your battle to take on. Sometimes it just ends up being distractions to keep us further away from our purpose and our divinity. So, walking away, it doesn't always mean that we're abandoning people in need or situations that are calling to us. I think spiritually, walking away sometimes means that, you have to discern when staying connected isn't really healthy for us anymore, or healthy for our soul at least. Sometimes you can just feel when something feels a little, it doesn't feel quite right, or it feels a little icky. And when we have that peace, we have that clarity to really say, I'm going to step away from this one. If we think of Jesus or Buddha or any of the great, spiritual masters, they often withdrew. They withdrew from crowds. They withdrew from society. They spent time in solitude. They spent time in, silent prayer for long periods of time. Granted, this was a different day and age, but it may be a little more difficult to do that nowadays with like bills and things, right? But that's kind of always been the spiritual path. It becomes a little more difficult to stay in mainstream society in a lot of the traditional ways and keep that peace that we really desire as spiritual beings. So when we walk away from chaos, we're not really being unkind. We're being pretty wise with ourselves. We're saying, my peace is sacred, and I will not sacrifice it for drama that doesn't serve my growth anymore. Right? We keep evolving as human beings. We keep leveling up and learning from our past mistakes and saying, it's okay. It's cool that I used to be there, but I'm not there anymore. And I'm not willing to take a step back. It's a healthy thing to do for ourselves. And it takes courage to do that. Sometimes it's a much, much, much easier thing said than done. Chaos, it often tries to kind of pull us back in, It's like they say that the devil lies. You can think of that chaos as the devil, right? Everyone understands God and the devil differently. But to many, that maybe is the devil, turning back on yourself. Not believing in your steps forward and taking steps back. But it's the moment that we choose the peace over chaos that we really reclaim our power in ourselves. So peace requires boundaries, right? Spiritually, boundaries are not really, they're not walls or anything that we're putting up to separate, but it's just a little bit of a protective barrier, right? To protect our own self from some of the energies that we can take on from others or that others can take from us. That's what's going to allow us to say yes to God and say no to some of the distractions that kind of hold us back from who or what we really want to be. So some ways that we can protect our sacred space. I think discernment, stepping up and saying, hey, does this situation bring me closer to spirit, or is this taking me away? Is this really bringing me closer to where and who I want to be as a spiritual being? Is this what I want to be doing? Very important, prayer and meditation, right? Taking the time to sit with ourselves, close our eyes, even if it's 5 minutes a day, right? It's signaling to your higher self. It's signaling to spirit, this is what I want. Give me more of this. Push me further along my path and align me with who I am and why I'm here. Keep me not distracted and keep me close with God, right? So doing that, going ahead and meditating and taking some time for ourselves is super important for that. Releasing and forgiving. Sometimes it's easier said than done, right? I feel the older we get, sometimes it gets a little easier to say, I'm sorry, forgiving people for the things that maybe we feel have been done to us. But carrying grudges is really just something that's going to create an inner chaos in our world. And it's a lot to really hold on to for long periods of time. So if we can really just take a breath and say, hey, the God in me sees the God in you, right? And forgive things and move on from them and release that, so that we can have more peace in our own self and our own life. And then really importantly, and I think that we all are doing great with this here, is surrounding ourselves with like-minded people who uplift us, people who inspire us, and that are aligned with our values. That's really important. And I think we have such a great group here at Unity, and I myself am super grateful for that, and as I know you all are as well. So when you choose peace, you're not really just, protecting your own soul, but you're becoming a light for others, kind of like in our meditation, right? It's a light that others can see. Maybe somebody that needs your light, they can see that light coming out from you in your peace. And they can sense your calm presence, and they can trust that. People will feel safe around you. The atmosphere might change when you walk into a room. I'm sure many of you experience that because you're all very good, kind, peaceful beings, right? So that's how peace multiplies. It starts inward and then it flows outward. And the more that you cultivate that peace, the less susceptible you are to becoming chaotic or wrapped up in the chaos. Reverend Tom kind of talked about this at World Peace Day yesterday. He talked about, the pandemic of peace and how a virus can spread. Well, peace, joy, love, kindness. Kindness was the big word yesterday, right? That's how that will spread, just the same. And it grows exponentially from there. And then walking away from chaos or chaotic people, places, circumstances. It's not really like a rejection, but you're redirecting. You're redirecting where you're putting your energy toward. You want to put it toward chaos or toward love, healing, prayer, growth, community. So as we close here today, I reflect us all to reflect on some things, right? Where is our chaos ruling in our life? Or who or what do we need to lovingly walk away from in order to protect our peace? What have we been holding on to that's not really protecting our peace, not making that our priority? Maybe we could think about how would our lives transform if we let peace become a non-negotiable, like a non-negotiable priority in our life. And peace is not passive, it's powerful. And when we can choose peace, we are just choosing to align ourselves with the divine flow. not get held up and restricted by the chaos around us or happening in life around us. The world changes when we change, and we see a better world when we see a better us. So today, may you all have the courage to walk away from the chaos and the wisdom to walk fully into peace. Thank you.